On the night of the 17th of September 1970, journalist Keith Altham took Jimmy to Mike Nesmith's party at the Inn on the Park. Altham noted that Jimmy was very depressed. At the same time, Ed Chalpin was flying into London expecting to meet Jimmy. Jimmy was supposed to go to a meeting with Chalpin and representatives of Polydor and Track Records. Chalpin was still chasing Jimmy for more money. Jimi Hendrix went into hiding. On September the 18th, 1970, the world learned that one of history's greatest guitarists was dead. Monica Danneman told the inquest into Jimmy's death, "Jimmy slept well on Tuesday and Wednesday night. I don't know about Thursday night. We arrived home at 8:30, I cooked a meal, and we had a bottle of white wine about 11 p.m. Had nothing to drink apart from the wine. I had a bath and washed my hair, and then we talked. There was no argument or stress, no unhappy atmosphere. I took a sleeping tablet about 7 a.m. I made him 2 tuna fish sandwiches, and we were in bed talking. I woke about 10:20 a.m. He was sleeping normally. I went to get cigarettes, and when I came back, I got back into bed. He was breathing and his pulse was normal, but I could not wake him."
Jimmy. 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 Oh, fucking hell. Jimmy! Hi. It's me. It's Jimmy. I can't wake him up. I'm scared that if I call an ambulance, he'll get cross with me when he wakes up. Okay.
There were 9 of my sleeping tablets missing.
Jimmy!
When I saw him before he went to sleep, he was very happy. The ambulance didn't arrive until 11:30, and the ambulance men reassured me that Jimmy would be all right.
I can't wake him. What's wrong with him? Please tell me what's wrong with him. He won't move, he won't respond. Jimmy, come on, wake up.
Has he been drinking? Don't worry.
No, he hasn't been drinking anything. We had some white wine with dinner and that was it.
Don't worry, darling.
Get him there as soon as you can. Can you tell me what's wrong with him?
Well, we'll find that out.
He's not going to die, is he?
Don't worry. No.
He's not going to die.
Okay,
Be
1,
careful,
2,
careful with him.
3.
Careful with him.
Okay.
Oh my, Jimmy. He is going to live, isn't he?
Yes.
Can I come with you? Okay, how long? I'll be 1 minute. He is going to live, isn't he?
Really? Don't worry about it. We'll just take him down to the local hospital and have him checked.
Can I come with you?
Yes. Get dressed quickly, though. Get dressed.
Okay, you just look after him, all right? Jimmy, oh, don't worry, babe. I'm going to be with you soon.
I travelled with Jimmy in the ambulance all the way to the hospital and waited in the car park for news.
Somebody get his head up. Get the mask on him.
Okay, we need some oxygen.
All right, come on, Jimmy. Come on, wake up. Come on, get his head up.
Get his head up.
Okay, he's got a weak
A
pulse.
nurse came to speak to me and told me that Jimmy was in bad shape. She did, however, say that a medical team hoped they could save him.
His lungs collapsed, but there is still a chance that we can save him.
Okay, people start
What's happening?
People start letting.
Come on, people, speak to me.
Blood
Tell me what's
Okay,
going
his
on.
pulse is getting weaker. We need some more oxygen.
Come on, Jimmy, wake up. We're losing
Get
him.
that BP on.
Come on.
Come on, we're going to lose him.
Come on, what's happening?
Come on, where's his pulse?
Come on, what's happening?
Get some more oxygen to him now. Come on, we're going to lose this guy. Come on.
Come on, Jimmy.
Okay,
Okay, we're losing him. We need more pressure.
Come
We
on.
need more pressure now.
blood pressure's gone.
Stop. He's dead.
There's no pulse. There's no
Okay.
pulse.
Are you going to call it?
Time of death.
Despite the doctors
12:45.
working furiously to resuscitate him, Jimmy's life could not be saved. The news of Jimmy's death was broken to me by a nurse in the car park. was only when I saw Jimmy's dead body that I could believe he'd passed away. The headlines screamed that Hendrix had died the typical rock star death, a drugs overdose amid fame, opulence, and decadence. The inquest found that Jimmy had died from inhaling his own vomit after taking Monica's barbiturate sleeping tablets. The inquest accepted completely Monica's story, but left an open verdict, which meant that the actual circumstances of the death could not be determined. Monica was the only witness called. None of the medical team or ambulancemen were consulted. After Jimmy's death, rumours abounded. One had him overdosing on heroin at a friend's flat and his body taken and placed in Monica's flat. Another had him flown to Hollywood, murdered, and flown back on a private jet. And yet another rumour had him die at a famous rock star's apartment with Devon by his side. However, 22 years later, Steve Roby and Kathy Etchingham traced the ambulance men, Reg Jones and John Sewer. They insist Danneman was not at the flat when they arrived and that Hendrix was already dead.
His mixed membrane's all black. He's been dead for about 4 or 5 hours.
But it's him.
And if Monica Danneman is to be believed about what happened on their last night together, why was Hendrix fully dressed? And how could the ambulance men possibly miss seeing someone who was supposed to be there? In other words, Monica. The ambulance men also contradicted Monica when they both asserted that no one, apart from themselves, had travelled to the hospital with Hendrix.
Well, there's no pulse. I think this one's gone, actually.
Equally, Dr. Bannister, the then surgical registrar, stated that Hendrix had been dead for at least 7 hours when he was admitted to the hospital. Dr. Bannister noted that Hendrix's lungs were filled with vomit and masses of red wine.
Somebody take this away.
Let's have a look.
I'd say, if we can close these curtains.
Should we put him into the recovery position?
They'd never before seen a man who drowned in his own red wine.
You call it. See where we go.
Okay. Time of death.
So how did the red wine get into Jimmy's lungs? The 60s and 70s were turbulent political times, and now compelling evidence has emerged that points to a sinister coalition between the United States government and organized crime, set up specifically to murder prominent leaders of the new youth culture, including rock musicians.
Jimi Hendrix was killed for 2 reasons. First of all, he had made statements in the teen press calling for the Black Panthers to go to Washington, D.C. and shoot the place up. Secondly, he had done a benefit for Bobby Seale and the Chicago 8. And that got the attention of the FBI and a program called COINTELPRO, which was a surveillance and assassination program. And it led to the murder of 28 Black Panthers. Tupac Shakur makes 29 because he was a Black Panther. Hendrix linked up with the Black Panthers, and for that reason, he was a dead man.
COINTELPRO was fostered by J. Edgar Hoover, the chief of the FBI for a very long time, in the late 1950s. And the original goal of the program was to eliminate, in their words, neutralize or defame any kind of young, in Hoover's exact words, messianic black leader who could galvanize all parts of the civil rights movements, black nationalist movements, and white sympathizers, white liberal sympathizers, okay, and get them going into a very progressive, powerful movement.
The first clues that Hendrix was a government target emerged from declassified FBI files.
In 1976, there were a group of students at Santa Barbara, University of California, who put in for FOIA documents on Jimi Hendrix. They got 6 heavily blacked out pages. They appealed, they got 7 more pages, and they learned from those documents that Jimi Hendrix had been put on a security index established by the FBI to have him and everyone else on that index rounded up and placed in detainment camps in the account of a national emergency.
Another interesting thing about the FBI files in this particular case is that they're in national security terms redacted, which means blacked out or censored. Okay, so that very much crucial information, is still not available to the public. As somebody who's fished through these files for 7 or 8, 9, 10 years, it's usually the most interesting, the most sensitive stuff, okay, that gets blacked out. That's the stuff that they really don't want you to know, that puts them in a very much compromised kind of a position.
We now know from declassified United States government files that COINTELPRO counterintelligence program was part of a major CIA operation that was called Operation MH Chaos.
MH Chaos is a CIA operation that begins in the early 1960s, and it targets basically liberals, anti-war protesters, okay, underground newspapers, left-wing journalists, etc. And its target is to infiltrate these kinds of movements, lead them astray, okay, and eventually create enough friction in them to actually destroy them and render them weak and helpless. MH Chaos became one of the biggest programs that the CIA had because they felt that they really had to control these forces, which at that time are really gaining some momentum and power. Okay, and so they wanted to, the object was to prevent them from unifying, from becoming, keep them split as far apart, so they don't become one huge political force.
Nixon was very concerned about this. You had major operatives like Hunt and Liddy, who were aware of all this. Tom Charles Houston from Young Americans for Freedom comes to the Nixon administration and draws up plans for detaining dissidents, including specifically Jimi Hendrix, right? He wasn't a threatening character, right? He was a musician. That's where his mind and that's where he wanted to be. But as soon as he engaged in politics, it's a different story. And I think that if you're a celebrity, you kind of have to gauge your statements, because you say the wrong thing, you can end up in deep, deep trouble.
Well, Hendrix's music was so powerful, and it was so wide appealing. And by 68, 69, especially after his appearance at the Woodstock thing, which is probably the apogee, of his career, it's become a kind of icon, in rock and roll history. Hendrix on stage with the national anthem, etc. He was really ready to become the number one, rock act, in the United States. And with his ties into some of these black nationalist, black power movement, and his liberal sympathies already, if you had Jimi Hendrix actually funneling money into groups like this, then that would really put them in a position to actually spread in a really kind of potent way. One of the problems that a group like the Black Panthers always had is they never had enough money to really finance larger operations that they wanted to get into. With someone like Jimi Hendrix funneling money to them, that would be a serious possibility.
The huge amounts of money in the music business had forged an unlikely partnership between the CIA and the Mafia.
Of course, the Mafia had their hooks into the music business going back to the jukebox wars. And then in World War II, the OSS started up a program called Operation Underworld, which entailed the actual recruitment of key Mafia figures to operate in Italy and the United States, right? And after World War II, they continued this brotherhood between the CIA and the Mafia that continues to the present day. Now, under Operation Chaos, I mentioned that all intelligence agencies have been brought into the umbrella program. Well, the Mafia was brought into it too because they were central to the music business itself, and they could be used to control and ultimately, in some cases, murder musicians who are outspoken in their opposition to the U.S. government.
Some of the things that you look at, some of the landmarks, okay, that have a lot of similarity to other assassinations that someone like me has studied in the Hendrix case is, first of all, you have the use of an inside operator, somebody very close, and somebody who the target trusts, all right, but doesn't understand that the guy already has a dual allegiance.